This is the best fantasy football draft strategy in 2025, and we are going to prove it to you mathematically. Do us a huge favor, drop a like, and make sure you subscribe if you enjoyed this video or if you found this video. Let's talk about an overview of this draft strategy first and what the general plan is as we go through our fantasy football drafts. And then we'll break down why we did this way and the math behind it that makes sense in terms of drafting this way and why it's going to give you a huge advantage over your league mates this year. So here's how the map looks. In round one, you're going to draft an elite running back or wide receiver. That's a given. There are no quarterbacks or tight ends in 1 QB formats going in the first round anymore. Check. Round two, you are going to draft the elite opposite. Okay, so basically what this means is in round two, if you take a running back in round one, you are taking a wide receiver in round two, no questions asked. If it's the opposite, if you took a wide receiver in round one, you are going to take a running back in round two. You need to have one of each through 2 rounds this year. Now, through rounds 3 and 4, we are going to continue to grab wide receivers and running backs. Notice, we are not saying grab tight end. We are not saying grab QB. And I will prove to you why you should not grab QB early in these drafts, ever. It is a very cut and dry position here when you're looking at the numbers. Core running backs and wide receivers in the 3rd and 4th round, okay? So you're basically just balancing that wide receiver and running back position, leaning a little bit heavily towards running back there. And then in rounds 5 and 6, you're going to continue to draft only running backs and wide receivers. Why? Because when you get to rounds 5 and 6, you can get away from safety a little bit and you can lean into some risk with a rookie or with an upside play. Plus, when you're looking at league winners in fantasy football over the last 3 or 4 years, almost all of them have been rookies, and a ton of them have been drafted in rounds 5 and 6. And so this is a gold mine for league winners. Taking that upside shot, taking that rookie shot in rounds 5 and 6 is absolutely crucial to giving yourself league-winning upside with your fantasy football team. And then in rounds 7 through 9, we're going to grab a tight end no later than round 8. A lot of times it's going to be in round 8. And then we're going to grab other flex position guys, or we're going to grab a QB, or we'll just take a QB later. And I'm going to prove to you why this start is the most advantageous. Let's talk about the first 2 rounds and talk about the wide receiver and running back positions and why this actually makes sense. Again, the wide receiver running back start, one way or another, how you flip it is absolutely the way to go. And you got to take the opposite in round 2 that you took in round 1. But really this year, we're building our entire strategy around running backs. Running back is the crown jewel of any of all positions in fantasy football this year. And this chart kind of proves it. We have the quarterback and the tight end charts as well, but I want to compare running back and wide receiver specifically right here and tell you why running back, it's much more important to secure running backs in your early rounds than it is your wide receivers. When you're looking at running backs through the first 5 rounds last year, those selections at running back averaged 16.1 points per game in PPR leagues, okay? When you're looking at rounds 6 through 10, that drops to 8.6 points per game. So the first 5 rounds, 16.1. The second 5 rounds, 8.6. Meaning what? There is a large drop-off after the top-tier running back goes off the board. Okay, let's talk about wide receivers now. Wide receivers is a little bit different. It's 14.3 points per game through the first 5 rounds on average for a wide receiver. And then through the next 5 rounds, 12.7 points per game. So not near the drop-off at wide receiver from a production standpoint in later rounds as you see from running backs. Your entire team, your entire strategy should be built around the running back position. Running back production is a lot harder to find later in drafts. In rounds 5 through 10, you are taking a significant production dip to draft running backs there. Whereas opposed to wide receivers, you can actually draft a wide receiver in round 5 through 10 and they could outproduce one of the wide receivers you drafted earlier. Or on average, you might only take a small production dip. And so when you're looking at the opportunity costs of selecting both of these positions early or late, there is a giant opportunity cost to not selecting running back. Whereas if you don't take on as many wide receivers, you're actually in good shape. But when we're looking through the first 6 rounds in particular, your team should be made up of either 2 wide receivers and 4 running backs, or probably the best through 6 rounds, 3 wide receivers and 3 running backs. That's really what we're looking at as kind of our golden ratio for this year. And you'll notice, again, there are no quarterbacks and tight ends, and we're going to talk about that, obviously. The other thing through 6 rounds, you should have at least 1 rookie on your team. To summarize so far, you're building your strategy around running backs because running back production is so much harder to find later in drafts. And wide receivers, you can actually find wide receiver production in drafts. Now, a lot of you are asking the question, and this is a perfectly valid question, why should we not draft an elite quarterback? Why should we not draft an elite tight end? Let's tell them.
One of the biggest fallacies that I think we've heard quite often in terms of like when you actually need to be selecting a quarterback and tight end is that a lot of people rationalize taking a top tight end or a top quarterback in the first 4 rounds of their fantasy league in that like, oh, this is a percentage of my starting roster, right? Quarterback and tight end alone together, when you put them together, make up, 25% of your roster when you're looking at like start 8 formats. And we really don't think that's the way that you should be looking at it. You really should be looking at it in terms of the production and the opportunity costs that you're giving up at the other skill positions, at wide receiver and running back specifically. Opportunity cost is very, very important here because when you're looking at the first 5 rounds, in terms of total production on a points per game basis of running backs and wide receivers collectively, it's 15.2 points per game through 5 rounds. The next 5 rounds, running back and wide receiver drops down literally 33% to 10.7 points per game. So you have a 5 point per game drop, almost a 5 point per game drop from the first 5 rounds to the next 5 rounds. You would think that that's just natural across every single position in fantasy, right? It's actually not. That is not the case for quarterback and tight end. The tight end production in rounds 2 through 5 is about 12.1 points per game on an annual basis. When you go to rounds 6 through 10, tight ends goes down to 10.4 points per game. So what's the opportunity cost there, right? It's less than 2 points per game. At the quarterback position, you're kind of looking at the same sort of thing. Rounds 2 to 6, those are your Lamars, your Allens, your Daniels, your Mahomes and Burrows every single year, right? 20.4 points per game collectively. You go to rounds 8 through 10, and it's 18.5 points per game. So again, do you see that stark difference from wide receiver and running back and how much it falls off in the later rounds compared to quarterback and tight end? And again, intuitively, this makes sense.
And so with quarterback and tight end, we have a little bit of a rule this year because there is a point where you do take tight end. You saw this in my first live league draft where I had to take Lamar Jackson. It's called the breaking points. We have a breaking point chart for you here on the screen. If quarterback or tight end falls to this point in your drafts, it's okay to take them, right? Yep. Okay, so Josh Allen's breaking point and Lamar Jackson's. If you get to the early 4th and those guys are available, they're worth taking. Your team build will survive taking those guys. Jaden Daniels is the late 4th, Jalen Hurts the mid 5th, and Joe Burrow the early 7th. So if the guys, again, fall to you at these points in the draft, at that point, they're such good values, they're actually going to help your team, right? Tight end, kind of the same thing. With Bowers, it's the early 3rd round. Trey McBride is the early 4th. George Kittle's the late 4th, and Sam Laporta is the late 6th. So again, I mean, if you're in formats where they're following you this, which, like, for example, in an ESPN league, never going to happen. And if you're playing in an ESPN league, you need to be taking running back and wide receiver. Trust me, the math checks out. In a start 7 league, we'll put these charts up again. You're talking about if you take a quarterback or tight end in round 4 and then have to take your flex spot later, you're talking about a potential opportunity cost of up to 5 points per game, whereas the opportunity costs at the other positions are just below 2 points per game. When you have 2 flex spots, which most of you do, your opportunity cost doubles. You have twice the amount of flex options there. You have to cover your bases in your flex spots because fantasy football leagues are won by high upside flex options. And so make sure you're taking care of those while also keeping in mind that sometimes you do have to pivot and do your QB and tight end breaking point strategies. So let's put the draft strategy into action, and I'll walk you through some mock drafts from different points on the board to show you how this strategy will literally always work. And Nate, you can kind of help me out with these as well. So drafting from the 101, obviously not a bad pick this year, by the way. You're going to take Jamar Chase, okay? And then again, when we're following our strategy here, we know that since we took a wide receiver in the first round, when it comes back to us, we are going to go ahead and take a running back. So I've already got my positional thing on running back, and let's go ahead and see who the best available is. Perfect. And you know what? I know historically that my wide receiver options at the 4 or 5 turn are going to be much better. There's a tier drop off in the 4th round this year for running back. So I'm going to go ahead and take my running back now, and I'm going to take Kyren Williams. And so there's literally 4 running backs here I would take. There are 4. I would take Hampton. Yeah. I would have taken Jonathan Taylor. And so any of those guys really. And Hampton ends up falling. So now we've got 2 running backs and 1 wide receiver through 3 rounds. We're probably going to look to keep that balance, right, and go at least 1 wide receiver here. And so we look over at wide receiver. We got DK Metcalf over here. Devonta Smith's not a bad pick. You go really any of those guys. I think the safe pick here is probably DK, so we'll take DK Metcalf here. And then when you're looking, I'm probably going to take another running back here because, again, what is the rule? We want to take a rookie or an upside shot now. DK is more of a safe play. TreVeyon Henderson, on the other hand, is an upside play. And so I will take the upside shot on TreVeyon Henderson. And then we're looking at 3 running backs and 2 wide receivers through the first 5 rounds. Now, again, looking for upside, potentially some depth now in the 6-7 turn. And so we'll see who the best player available at running back and wide receiver make it back. But we're not ready. There have been no quarterback and no tight end followers, and so I am not forcing it there. I am going to take the best flex options. I mean, there's a couple good options here, but I think, you know, I think you got to take Montgomery, so you have 4. Now we have to take wide receiver here. You absolutely have to, because we never want to be more than 1 away from our balance, right? And so between Godwin, Judy, Egbuka, I mean,
probably go Godwin.
I would say Godwin or Egbuka is the pick here, and so we'll go Godwin. I think you could also go Egbuka here. And we have 3 wide receivers and 4 running backs. Now, I will say, now that we're getting in the 8th round, we're going to start looking at tight end, because we're really looking at not taking tight end any later than the 8th round. We'll see who ends up on the board here. We're looking at our tight end position. We still got Kelsey. We still got Njoku. We still got Andrews. We still got Ingram.
Kelsey in the 8th is a great pick.
I think Kelsey here, it was fine. And then I probably need to take a wide receiver here to kind of get some of our flex spot wide receivers taken care of. And obviously, it gets a little bit rougher in this range. You have Brandon Ayuk if you can take the risk there. But honestly, the QB value is good enough that we're just going to go ahead and take our QB, and we'll take Kyler Murray. In the 9th round, you're getting Kyler Murray. I mean, look at the production statistics for Kyler Murray, and you'll kind of see why we're doing that. And then we're going to take another flex spot here. Again, just going through 10 rounds right now. I mean, but Ayuk makes it back to you here. And again, you only really have 3 starting wide receivers here, but wide receivers going to be a lot easier to pick up off of waivers or get in trades, and you would continue to stack wide receivers later in rounds. Okay, now let's try one from the middle of drafts and try from the 6th spot. And again, just a classic example of you really can implement this strategy from any spot in the draft, and it will work out for you. So, drafting from the 6th spot, obviously we're probably going to get Saquon Barkley that falls to us here according to how the bots are drafting, and so we'll see who falls. Actually, Barkley goes. Jefferson is on the board. So we'll take Justin Jefferson, and we'll draft wide receiver first again. I will say this. I think drafting wide receiver first this year is a better play if you're in a position to do so, because you're looking at the running backs. We have literally our choice now of Chase Brown, Josh Jacobs, Jonathan Taylor, Amarian Hampton. Who are we taking here?
Let's take Chase Brown.
Take Chase Brown this time. Sure, let's mix it up. So we've got our wide receiver running back start, and now in round 3, we're probably going to be looking running back again.
Faller.
And it's
Kyren
Williams again. So we'll take Kyren for the 2nd time, because Kyren, again, is just a fantastic value this year in ours. You could have taken Hampton there, could have taken Kamara, but now we're kind of past that drop-off. Look, the best running back that made it back is Chuba, Travion Henderson, James Conner, so we really don't feel like we need to take either of those guys. We haven't really taken any rookies yet, so let's take Tet McMillan here and take our upside shots that we're like taking in rounds 4 through 6. Now, coming back to us, I do expect to get at least one of the rookie running backs here. Chuba Hubbard falls back to us. He's ranked super low, I think, in everybody's rankings, which is insane. And look at the wide receiver run that just happened. So every running back made it back besides one. Beautiful. We'll take Chuba Hubbard here. We have 3 running backs, 2 wide receivers, so we're going to be looking at wide receiver coming back now through 6 rounds. And again, Addison makes it back to us. I think Addison's the play here. Addison's going to be a flex spot guy. You obviously have Jefferson there as well, so you might want to take Godwin or Judy because of that. But you do have both those receivers that are solid flex options there. And then coming back to us again, Brian Robinson is available at running back, but the best value here, I think, is at wide receiver.
Yeah, probably Judy. And again, this is the best part about taking 3 running backs in the first 5 rounds. If you can swing it, is you don't really need to force taking a running back in the later rounds, and then you can just clean up at the value at wide receiver with the upside that you have in Judy as a wide receiver 1.
So now we're in the 8th round. I want to look at our tight ends. We do still have Kelsey here, so he wouldn't be a bad pick at all. But we've really got our choice here.
Warren's the highest upside.
I was going to say, let's take an upside shot and go Warren here in the 8th. And so then coming back, we're either going to be looking quarterback or highest flex spot available. Couple quarterbacks.
Got to take Cup.
So I think in the 9th round, you take an upside shot with a veteran on Cooper Kupp, right? Flexible guy. And again, we can stack our wide receivers later. So let's now look at, I think we'll take a quarterback here who we have available. 19 point per game, Jared Goff. Not a bad quarterback in the 10th round. Drake May and Jordan Love, Dak Prescott all went. So then there you go. And then finally, let's draft from the 12 spot in a draft. Actually, let's put it in between. Let's do the 11 spot, and I can kind of show you how to do it from this spot as well. So again, applying the domain strategy, we're going to go opposites in round 1 and 2. We're going to stack wide receiver and running back in rounds 3 and 4 and see how it works out for us. So again, drafting here at the 11 spot, you're going to have a lot of flexibility on what your start can be, but it is important not to start double wide receiver. If you start double running back, it's not the worst thing in the world, but I'm going to go ahead and take Amon-Ra St. Brown here, and here's exactly why. Because I know coming back to me is literally every running back that was, going to go off the board. And Derrick Henry should be a first-round pick. I'm going to take Derrick Henry here pretty easily, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So 3rd round, typically it just depends when you're at the end here, because in the 3rd round, sometimes you get the running backs that fall to you. Sometimes all of them go. in this particular case, like 2 running backs fell back to us.
Oh, yes. This is ideal. This is what happened to me when I drafted on Wednesday.
I know. You got so lucky. But and then Kamara goes as well. So now we can look at wide receiver again. Any of these guys are good. It gets a little bit rougher in here.
Yeah.
You know, I
it's
do
just
think
you're at the top of a tier. That's why it's
right.
ugly.
And so you just pretty much have to
Take Sutton.
call your shot here. Yeah,
Let's
let's
take
take Sutton. He's probably our highest ranked player. And so again, 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs through 4 rounds, and we're going to be looking at wide receiver and running back again. The difference is this next time when it comes back around, we're going to be looking at flex spot upside. And so really, I mean, there's a couple. I mean, Caleb Johnson or James Conner, you could go.
I think Olave's a good pick. Let's see what running back falls to you.
All right, so we'll do Olave and hope he doesn't take 2 running backs. 1, 2, he took them both.
There he goes.
Absolutely brutal there. The bot just freaking took us to school. Connor's back though.
Yeah,
Connor's a good pick. So we'll take James Conner. I cannot believe the bot did that to me. Who is that? Oh, it's the Flock League playoff bot. That's why. So it's me. Nah, that stinks. Not you. You weren't in that bot. That kind of. You're in the toilet bot wherever it's at.
Rip.
All right. And then no followers here at any other position. I don't think so. Mahomes is getting there, but not there yet. We could go wide receiver again here and go Juwan Jennings, Jacoby Myers. I think I'm probably most comfortable with the receiver here. Which one do you think?
We'll take Myers.
Okay, we'll take Jacoby Myers here, 7th round. Coming back again, Juwan Jennings, Deebo Samuel went off the board, and so now
Golden's not a bad pick, honestly.
I don't think Golden's a bad pick either, and also does give us that upside pick that we didn't really have. We got Olave, but we'll take Golden here. We've got our 3 running backs, and again, we want to stack our wide receiver depth late instead of early. And so coming back, you know, the other thing is we let tight end go here. We'll see how much it kills us, but we're probably going to need to grab a tight end here very soon. And it does kill us because a huge tight end run goes. That's generally why you try to grab your tight end in the 8th round. I probably should have done that.
But you're not screwed over if you do just decide to fade tight end, because you can still take a Jonnu in the later rounds as well. You can go with, like, again, if you're more of like a Tucker Kraft guy, you can take him as well. So it's not the end of the world, but you will have the weakest tight end room in the league for sure.
I think the running backs here are a little bit better.
Yeah.
Which one?
Charbonnet.
Let's take Sharbs, and then on the way back, I'm going to take a quarterback. Who takes 2 quarterbacks in a 1 QB format? He took both the guys I wanted. Are you kidding me? You know what? I'm not going to. So since that happened, this is how you adjust. I'm not taking quarterback here. Yeah. I'm going to let quarterback come back to me. Everybody already has quarterback.
Take a wide receiver.
We don't have a tight end, do we? You're right.
Take Jonnu.
Yeah, we could take Jonnu.
In the 10th?
That's fine.
That's
Jonnu in the 10th is fine. So we'll take Jonnu Smith, and we'll see which quarterback. Again, the bot is selecting multiple quarterbacks here. It's literally screwing me. Stop taking 2 quarterbacks. Who does that? All right. And then coming back to us, who do we have at quarterback? Frick.
CJ Stroud's available.
Yeah, we'll take Stroud here. I mean, that's not going to happen in a real league is the thing. And I'll take Jaden Blue here as well. Late shot. So, again, we got solid flex spot option. When you're looking at our roster here, I mean, we are in pretty darn good shape in terms of the guys we are starting. And so, again, you can win from any spot. All these, you can draft against our bot, against my bot, his bot, all different bots from the creators in the site for free over on vlogfantasy.com/domain. You can check out the link in the comment. It'll take you right there. It's free. You don't have to pay for anything, and you can just mock draft. Best mock draft tool in the industry by far. But again, hopefully this summarizes what our draft strategy for 2025 is. Do us a huge favor. If you enjoyed the video, drop a like. Make sure you're subscribed. It really helps us out. And also, if you would, share the video, because we would like other people to be able to come in and see this video and you know, dominate. Obviously, don't share it with your league mates, but other people you may want to help at fantasy football. So we appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you later.